on 3FM 92.7. You can also call us your election command center. And when it comes to Ablekuma North, well, the saga still continues. The Electoral Commission has scheduled a rerun in 19 polling stations in the Ablekuma North constituency following disruptions that prevented full collation of results in the December 2024 parliamentary elections. The NPP has said it will not partake in the process, describing it as illegal and in contempt of court. Well, the court has given the EC that green light to go ahead and the processes are in place. We're told the papers are being printed. The NPP says they are still not participants in what they call an illegal rerun. Let's take you back in time then. Take a look at some of the disturbances that characterized these collation attempts. And let me tell you, there have been some 8 attempts of finally getting representation for Ablekuma North that all came to naught. Has it been a lack of political compromise? The EC has come under fire, and by EC, I'm talking about the commissioners at the helm of affairs. If you're watching us on Facebook, again, good morning to you, but let's take you back in time. Let's take a look at some of the scuffle that happened during the collation of the results in Ablekuma North. Multiply that times 8, that's what it has looked like every step of the way. When we come back, we'll also take you right into the heart of the Ablekuma North constituency. What are residents saying? How are they gearing up for tomorrow's rerun in some 19 polling stations?
This is officers. We are you. All your officers are today. Please, we want authenticated signatures. Media, come and look at the signatures. Media. Look at the signature.
In polling stations and NPP had 27,170. NPP stations 28,151. NPP had note 27,170. MP selected. NPP had 28,151. On that note, I declare Abna as
the margin is huge. Now they are dragging with small margin. That tells you that there is no stronghold in Ablekuma North now. And I'm saying it again. From this time, we are going to win this seat.
The party know. The people, they believe for NDC party is not a small thing, because this time everybody puts for a man for the NDC. But I'm sure if God permits this seat no, NDC think I'm ready.
So just understand and then let Rabna have it, because when you should be like moon dragging on The same way on also or winning yana NDC 40 at a man eba beye ejuma na obeye na so ono so nti ase na oma NDC nipa no so mbra beye no ono so beye.
My personal view, my personal point. Rabna have won. We all know. And even the previous election, he still said it. If you don't understand anything, go to court. So we don't know why a free is still making us wake up, letting us not sleep. Rabna has won. With or without Ablekuma North is a Rabna. Final.
I believe that NPP will win because this constituency is NPP stronghold, and I believe strongly that NPP will win. If they don't count again, NPP will win.
But I see, what do you make of the incidents surrounding the entire voting exercise here at the Ablekuma North? And
the Electoral Commission itself has acted illegally for recoalition. It is never in their books that there should be any recoalition after the results have been announced. So the whole thing is illegal. What they are doing is illegal, meaning the Electoral Commission itself is perpetuating illegality. And the courts are sitting down looking at them, doing all these things. Why do they create tension? Up to date, 2 weeks after elections, and you are still collating results. This is ridiculous.
And there you had it. Some opinions there coming from residents in the Ablekuma North constituency. And yesterday we got that information. The High Court has dismissed NPP's bid to halt the Ablekuma North rerun set for July 11. That's just tomorrow in some 19 polling stations. But I've got two gentlemen on the line with me this morning. We're talking more about what's happening or set to happen in Ablekuma North. Let me say good morning and a warm welcome onto the 3FM Sunrise platform, Dr. Joshua Zato. He's a political analyst and a senior lecturer, University of Ghana, Political Science Department. Dr. Zato, hello, good morning.
Good morning, Helen. Nice to talk to you.
How are you doing?
Good. I think it's the first time we are talking on phone, not in person. I prefer the in person.
So do I. It would have been lovely to see you this morning, but I will take what I can get. This is just fine for me. All right. Thank you for joining us on the program. I look forward to your perspectives on these key issues that we're delving into. Let me also say good morning to Hamza Suhini Saibu. He's a private legal practitioner and also a member of the NDC's communication team. Hamza, hello. Good morning.
Good morning, Helen, and good morning to my brother, Dr. Jackson.
Hope you're doing well.
Yeah, we can't complain. We're doing well by his grace.
Fantastic. And we're grateful that you're able to join us on this matter. So let me even start off with you. I understand that the NDC is feverishly campaigning in Ablekuma North. You are not resting at all. In fact, this morning, I understand that key personalities will be in the constituency all throughout the day. Why is it still so important for you to sell your message to the good people of Ablekuma North? In certain quarters, the idea is that this is a sure banker for you.
I think that it shows how seriously the NDC takes the good people of this country, irrespective of their ethnic background, religious affiliations, and to a very large extent, it also demonstrates our commitment to democratic principles, regardless of the kind of disagreements we might express in terms of the processes involved. And this has always been the position of the NDC. You remember the kind of spirited fight we pushed through in the case of the South when they were denied representation in the last parliament. So
Indeed.
For us, everybody matters, irrespective of the number of polling stations involved. If it has to do with preserving the democracy of the Republic of Ghana, if it has to do with giving people access to effective representation in Parliament, you would find the National Democratic Congress there. In any case, we played instrumental role in fashioning out this fourth Republican democracy that we are all enjoying under the fourth Republican Constitution. And so it behoves on us to demonstrate fidelity to the constitutional principles and also to our democratic ethos as an example for many other political parties to learn from. So for us, it is about that. Even if there were going to be 3 polling stations, I'm sure that the NDC would have been there in our numbers to campaign effectively in fulfillment of these democratic principles and also respect to the good people of this country and their right to effective representation.
Certainly, Hamza, thank you for your thoughts on that one. I will come back to you, but let me rope in Dr. Zato as well for some preliminary thoughts. And Dr. Zato, how do you assess the political ramifications of the High Court's ruling for both the NPP and the NDC in Ablekuma North?
Good morning to you and good morning to your listeners. You know, there's something that I don't understand, and sometimes I thank God that I'm not a lawyer and I don't have to worry about these things. A High Court rules that go collect the results and declare the results. Go and do that. Go, let the Ghana Police Service provide you security, collect the results and declare the results. Then you look at the High Court and you say, High Court, I hear what you said, I know what you said, but I won't do that. You basically give the High Court the middle finger. And you go, you don't do that. Then another High Court says, go ahead with the re-election. And you're like, oh, good, then I'm going to do that. I mean, then I ask myself, what was the effect of the first High Court's ruling? Have we carried out the ruling? And can you just ignore a court's ruling? Like, I'm just asking, can you just tell a court, yeah, I see what you said I should do, but I won't do it.
Bear with me, Dr. Zato. A small slide tackle that might help us in this regard. When we talk about that initial ruling, and you correctly mentioned that the EC is tasked to collate. If within that mandate they realize that that is impossible given the circumstances and a rerun is the only way to effectively then collate and carry out that High Court mandates, what wrong is committed here, if you see my line of thought?
Again, I'm saying, shouldn't the same High Court then have a say in it? Because my point is this, High Court gives a judgment. Go, collect the results you have got there, let the Ghana Police Service provide you security, collect those results, and announce the results. That's what the High Court says. The High Court did not say, run, no. Again, unless I'm wrong, Mr. Suhuyini is on the line, he's a lawyer, he may tell me that that's the ruling.
Right.
But if the ruling is, collect is different for rerun. If the ruling is go, Ghana Police Service provide security for the EC officials to declare the results they have. My point, if that was the ruling, did the EC do that? And can you choose to obey a High Court or to ignore a High Court's ruling? Because it looks like they've just ignored the High Court's ruling. Maybe that's the point. Can you do that? Can individuals do that? Can state institutions choose what to obey and what not to obey? That's my question. Should you do that? Should you have the power to do that?
Now, Dr. Zato, then let's fast forward, because we know that the waters have certainly been murky. There have been issues of...
no, the waters are not murky.
You say the waters are not murky? From everything you have observed so far, 8 attempts at collating, no compromise on the part of both parties. Dr. Zato, the waters have certainly been murky.
If a state institution chooses to ignore a High Court ruling, those are not making that's defiance. If a state institution chooses that, we are not going to respond, we are not going to respect what you have said, that is not democracy, facilitation. My point is that when do you do that and how can you do that without any ramifications? Where is the ramifications for defying the High Court? Again, if that was the ruling and you didn't do it, didn't you defy the High Court? Shouldn't there be a cost for defying a High Court ruling? I'm just asking.
Right. Okay. Now, what impact then, Dr. Zato, do you think the NPP's boycott will have on voter turnout and the overall credibility of this rerun?
I don't know, because the NPP is now, I think the NPP is now saying that, look, if the EC can even defy the court, if the EC can even look at the court and say, court, I hear you really, I will obey it, then the EC doesn't even care about them. Then they have done this. That's it. So it means the EC has a power from somewhere that they can do whatever they want. If you can then do whatever they want, and you are supposed to be a neutral arbiter, if the NPP has themselves, if anything happens now, the only place you can go and seek refuge is the court. Now, if the EC has demonstrated it is bigger than the court, more powerful than the court, can defy a court ruling, then why should the NPP participate in this whole charade? It's a charade. And that is why they've decided not to participate. Because they are saying themselves, it's a charade because if you are so powerful that you can defy a court order, then why should we participate?
Dr. Zato, thank you for those thoughts as well. Hold on for me. Let me also bring back Hamza into the conversation. Now, Hamza, my question is twofold. One, is it safe to say that the waters have been murky given what has transpired so far? We've had issues of pink sheets versus carbon copy, 8 different collation attempts that have come to naught, no lack of compromise that we see. So wait on that for me. And also, how does the NDC respond to this boycotting of the rerun by the NPP?
I think, Helen, first of all, it is important to clear the confusion of Dr. Zato. Right. And I respect his own acknowledgement of his limitation when it comes to the legalities of the matter. You see, what the EC was directed by the High Court to do was simply for the Ghana Police Service to provide them with the security to proceed with the coalition and eventual declaration of the results. Because remember that EC had expressed concern about safety of his officials and the fact that they were only waiting for the Ghana Police Service to provide the needed security for them to continue with the coalition. This is very important. Continue with the coalition. And so the High Court proceeded to give those reliefs. Now, the EC, in continuing with the coalition, we are now told by the EC that they have gotten to a stage where it is practically impossible to ensure an acceptable resolution of the matter through the coalition process because the parties are at loggerheads. And as Electoral Commission, they themselves do not have the pink sheet to be able to continue as regards these 19 polling stations. So the initial High Court ruling was complied with. That is what has led us to this stage. If that initial High Court ruling was defied, I can assure you that the motion that the NPP filed seeking to place an injunction on the processes, recourse would have been made to the earlier ruling of the High Court if there was indeed a defiance of that particular earlier order by the High Court. That is how the legal processes work. And that is why I'm saying that I acknowledge his limitation and his own acknowledgement of saying. So there is no confusion and there is no deliberate defiance of any court order as far as this matter is concerned. Now to the second leg of your question about whether the situation is murky. I'm definitely Helen. It is murky. And as a political party, we are not running away from that part. And that is why from day one, even since this election, EC officials were appointed, we were consistent that these guys are demonstrating unimaginable levels of incompetence. And these states of the officials would constitute a great danger to our democratic stability. This is not the first time we are at loggerheads with the NPP as far as the declaration of parliamentary results are concerned. Remember that even after the 2020 elections, the minority leader then, the Honorable Haruna Idrisi, had to lead NDC parliamentarians to the Electoral Commission head office because of issues of Techima South and the declaration processes that were undertaken by the EC to a point that we could not even have access to the statement of vote. It was the incompetence of this Electoral Commission that led for the first time to military men entering the chambers of parliament because of tensions as a result of their incompetence. Again, I'm surprised that he's screaming. Even the presidential election results, remember the number of times the EC had to change it in their language because of computational errors. So that track record of incompetence is there. That same 2020 election, Helen, that was what best served, where a section of the citizens of the Republic of Ghana, situated in the Volta region, did not have representation for 4 years as a result of the activities of this current EC. So yes, since their assumption of office, it has always been one of a murky situation when it comes to handling of election results. So I agree to a very large extent with the NPP when they say that these guys are murky in terms of the way they handle our electoral process. But then the question is, who are those who appointed them there? They were appointed there to pursue partisan objectives. That is why you have, as part of the deputy commissioners, a hard-line NPP person, a TESCOM patron for that matter, during his service to the New Patriotic Party. So they must begin to feel some kind of remorse and the unfortunate incident that they had to take this nation through. So this is the repercussions of the actions. These are repercussions of the actions of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, and the New Patriotic Party. When these things were happening, where was Dr. Zato?
Well, Hamza, thank you for that.
The best thing for him to do now is to go engage his bosom friend and brother, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, and let him appreciate.
What has that got to do with Ablekuma North?
The NDC dealt with it in the last 4 years, and that was the reason why the NDC was calling for a reset of that institution. And this is the time to get his own big brother and admirer to support the NDC's call so that we can reset the institution and spare ourselves.
Hamza, thank you for these thoughts. Thank you for your thoughts on that. I will certainly be coming back with some more questions. Dr. Zato, then let me segue directly into the issue of the actions of the Electoral Commission. How do you evaluate the Electoral Commission's handling of this entire matter and its communication with all stakeholders?
Thank you. Who this morning, if they are listening to this right now, will call me a hypocrite. And that is because I have defended the EC, I've defended whatever they have done, defended their actions because I thought it was good. But today, this morning, I want to agree with Mr. Suhoyene that the EC is not fit for purpose. I want to agree with you. I want to also agree with the NDC National Chairman that we should throw the EC chair and all their deputies out. I also agree with them. I also want to agree with that we need some new EC chairs to come around the elections and let's see what they want to do. So yes, Mr. Suhoyene, I agree with you on those two things. I see you make a desperate attempt and you, as you always do, to try to say blah, blah, but it doesn't matter. I agree with you too. So today you win. Mr. Suhoyene, you win. The EC has demonstrated that they do not deserve to draw salary. They do not deserve it. I agree with you on that.
Dr. Zato, are you still with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, fantastic. In fact, then, you've even gotten ahead of me. You mentioned the issue of hypocrisy. I was going to ask you to weigh in on this idea that it is now convenient for certain parties to be in disapproval or disapprove of the actions of the EC, now calling them incompetent.
I will not talk. I'm not talking for certain parties because I don't have the power.
No,
the authority
Dr. Zato, I'm asking you in your capacity as a political analyst. I was asking you to weigh in on that. Yes, so weigh in on that. Dr. Zato, let me land quickly just on the question I'm asking. I'm asking that from where you sit, what do you make of the calls or the idea that it is very hypocritical for persons who were once in support of every action, seemingly, of the EC to now U-turn and also join in this chorus that it is not fit for purpose? And I say you got ahead of me there by using the word hypocritical. So do you agree with that term?
Look, I want to say that, look, for me, on my part, I have defended the EC because they see, look, there's nuance here. If you look, even from everything the EC has done, the EC has always taken a position and defended it. The EC has always come out to say that on this issue, this is our position. And they've defended that position almost to the end. On SAL, on everything. They've said that, look, this is our position, we've defended it. For everything they have done, we have never seen it. Nobody, even, what's his name? Mr. Suhoyene cannot come and say that the EC has taken the decision. And after they've taken the decision, the national chairman of the NPP came out opposed it, and then the EC changed their mind. It has not happened. So what has always happened is that they've always said, this is our decision. We've taken this decision in the best interest of election in this country, in the best interest of managing this country. It could be wrong, it could be right. But they've always maintained that discipline. And for me, that is what I liked. In this case, we are not seeing that. And that is the point I'm making. In this case, for 6 months, you've had one position and one position only. That position is that we don't need a re-election. We can collect results. Even if in the unlikely event we need a rerun, we just need it in 3 polling stations to do it. That has been your position all along. That just like SAL, that was their position. just like all the other fractions that was their position, and they've defended almost all of them to the end. In this particular case, in the middle of it, you have just jumped. You've done a U-turn. For me, that is a betrayal. Why did you do this betrayal? If you continued with your position, look, if, let's say, it was the High Court or the Supreme Court that forced them to change their position, I would have respected it. If it was the appeals court that forced them to change their position, I would have respected it. If it was Parliament that forced them to change their position, I would have respected it. In other words, if it was any other external judicial or extrajudicial body that has forced them, I would have accepted. But if you look at it carefully, it's like the only external force that has compelled them to change their mind were the comments of the chairman of the NPP, who dangled their jobs in front of them. And that is what I'm saying defies every logic and makes them not fit for purpose. So that is the difference between my positions earlier and this one. But again, in this kind of communication, I see it. They took a decision, they held on to their decisions in the past, they justified it whether they were wrong or not. Today they took a decision, somebody threatened them their job, they capitulated, and that is the difference.
Right. Now, Dr. Zato, we talk about Ablekuma North being a stronghold of the NPP because we know for some 20 plus years they have always dominated in that constituency. In fact, over the period, the NDC has struggled to even get 40% of the votes in the constituency. The NPP says that they won by some 414 votes. And if you cast your mind back to how Ablekuma North has always voted, that is certainly nothing to boast about. From where you sit, do you think that the NPP is, quote unquote, running away from this rerun because it doesn't want to be handed an embarrassing defeat? Do you think that's in contemplation that what could happen tomorrow would be a shattering blow to the psyche of the NPP? Weigh in on that for me.
No. The NPP has a position. People have already voted. Count the votes. That's all they are saying. In fact, you've counted the vote, collate the votes. Look, NPP have lost elections in their stronghold. They lost in Ayawasu West Wagon. They lost in Domikwabina. So if they lose this one, it's a loss. I mean, hey, we've all said it. Everybody has said the 2024 elections was something special. But my point is that if the NPP loses and they know that, okay, the people have rejected us, we will know that there was an election held. You are throwing away those elections for now. Why? So the NPP is going on the principle, and sometimes it's good that institutions have principles. It's good that, look, NPP has boycotted elections in the past, NDC has boycotted elections in the past, and they all do that based on what? Principles. And that is what I respect. I respect the principle. The idea, look, if you had just voted in the 3 polling stations and then they lose, then that would have been shattering. But they are saying that an institution that has demonstrated that they can be easily coerced by an opposition national chairman, we are not going to support that charade. And that is a principle, and I respect that principle.
Dr. Zato, thank you for that. Hamza, weighing on this same specific question. Who have I lost on the line? Okay, I think I've lost Dr. Zato. Hamza, are you still with us?
Yes, I'm here.
All right. Please weigh in on that for me as well. What are your thoughts? There are many who say that the NPP is simply running away from Ablekuma North rerun because they know that they will be handed defeats. In fact, in 2020, I'm looking at the figures that both parties got. You have the NPP having got some 64.2% and the NDC garnering some 35%. Prior to that, in 2016, the NPP had some 66.8% and the NDC 32.8%.
You see, Ellen, even before I respond to that specific question, permit me to bring your attention a bit on the angle of hypocrisy.
Certainly.
That is the reality. But I'm surprised that Dr. Zato conveniently attempted to run away from acknowledging that fact as well, especially after proceeding to agree with me into 2 in terms of the views I expressed on the competence of the Electoral Commission. You see, that has always been the stock in trade of the New Patriotic Party. When they are in power and exercising all the privileges that comes with political power, they find absolutely nothing wrong with the process until they are at the receiving end. And it didn't start today. Remember that even in relation to the removal processes under Article 146, They were the first to invoke Article 146 calling for the removal from office of Madame Loretta Lamte, the former Shiraj boss, if you remember.
Indeed.
And President Mahama responded and carried the process through. Again, it was under the leadership of the New Patriotic Party that they activated Article 146 to remove Charlotte Osei and her 2 deputies. When they were invoking these processes, they found absolutely nothing wrong with the process. Until recently, you have heard them calling for a constitutional instrument in terms of exercising the powers under Article 146. Haven't you heard them? They are suddenly calling for a review of that Article 146 because in their mind there's everything wrong with the process. Why do you think they are doing that? Why do you think they are shifting the goalposts? Because now they believe that they are at the receiving end. That is not how you build a nation. And that is the same trait they are manifesting in relation to the Electoral Commission thing. From day one, the National Democratic Congress and reputable civil society organizations questioned the competence of these guys and called for their removal from office and questioned the appointment processes of even Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo and Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia and the NPP as a government. They did not listen. They defended these guys to the hilt. Today, they are at the receiving end of the incompetent manifestations of this EC. And all of a sudden, they agree with the National Democratic Congress that these guys should leave office. That level of hypocrisy, that double standard is nauseating, to say the least. And I expect the likes of Dr. Zato, who are known members of the New Patriotic Party, and in one time even contested to be a parliamentary candidate on the ticket, to look their friends in the eyes and tell them the truth, that they must be seen at all material times championing the democratic principles of this country and our constitution, not only when it is going against them. Even if it is against the Ghanaian people, they must demonstrate that statehood.
Right.
And step in the interest of the Ghanaian people, not always in the interest of the NDC. But in any case, we welcome their decision today.
You say
part of the agenda to reset, especially when it comes to the Electoral Commission.
Okay.
And when it comes to the fact that they are running away, you don't need an angel to tell you that they are running away.
What are your reasons that you ascribe to it? Right.
And it was not just in Ablekuma North alone they suffered. Nationwide. The defeat was national in character. So they know that there's no way the good people of Ablekuma North will succumb to pressure and go their way. They also know that they were engaged in fictitious cooking of pink sheets with the Electoral Commission, intended to hand over that particular constituency to them. And the NDC remained vigilant throughout the processes. That is why they are manifesting this posture. They know the real outcome of the election in on the 7th of December. And they know what they did behind the scenes, attempting to steal the verdict of the people of Ablekuma North. Now the reality is dawning on them, and they know that if they go back to the very people that they claim gave them that mandate, those people will let them understand that indeed that mandate they claimed they had was a stolen one. That is why they are afraid to go there, nothing more.
Hamza, thank you.
Why they are afraid to go.
Thank you for those thoughts. Dr. Zato has joined us back on the phone, and I reiterate, Dr. Zato is speaking to us this morning as a political analyst as we seek to make heads and tails of what exactly is happening as we make our way to Ablekuma North constituency tomorrow. There will be a rerun of some 19 polling stations. Dr. Zato, thank you for rejoining us in this conversation.
Thank you.
Let's take a little bit with the politics of this issue, and again talking about Ablekuma North and its history with the NPP, again as it being a stronghold, consistently garnering some over 60% of the votes in that constituency. Now you say, from where you sit, it appears that it's not about the NPP running away from this rerun. You say it's a matter of principle. We talk about SAL and how for 4 years there was no representation. The people in Ablekuma North are now going on some 7 months. Do you not think that it would be prudent for the NPP to compromise in this situation, especially if the party is confident that it has won? Yes, you do make the point that conditions might not be the same. Persons who were there before might not be there anymore, and so on and so forth. But surely that confidence should be there. The NDC never haven't gotten even 40%. Would you really begrudge anybody that opinion that the NPP is quaking in its boots?
You see, that argument is so fundamentally flawed.
Really? Expand on that.
Issue at stake. Let's look at it this way. Let's try to understand it.
Certainly.
They were collating the results. Thugs, hooligans attacked a coalition center. They struck it.
Okay.
And then they could not finish it. The EC for 7 months have said, irrespective of what the hooligans did, irrespective of what the thugs did, we still have enough to declare a result.
So you mentioned hooligans and you mentioned thugs. Any updates on if the EC went to the police, if the EC has made official complaints about this thuggery, this violence? We saw the fracas, which sometimes characterizes our coalitions when it comes to elections. Ablekuma North is not an exception. We saw a lot of heated engagements going on across. But for Ablekuma North, the idea that you're preferring that the violence was what, marred the entire process. Do you know of any police proceedings that are ongoing, any investigations ongoing in that specific matter?
So what marred the process?
You mentioned the scuffle, disturbances, thuggery, and I'm asking...
No. Let's something marred the process.
Yes.
The EC said that people invaded the place, hooligans invaded the place, and destroyed some of their places and made it impossible. That is why the EC called for additional security and protection from the IGP and the police to do it. If it was just the normal or the regular distance, they wouldn't have called for additional protection. They said people attack their officials and seize them. That is what the EC said. Or have they changed their mind?
My only question to you was whether or not you were aware of any action that has been taken to address that.
What the EC said. The EC said people attack us and that we are scared. That our returning officers and our people are scared for their lives to go back. So because they are scared for their life, give us extra security. The EC said that.
All right, Dr. Zato, please, let's hear you.
If it was just the original, no, you are trying to say, if it was a normal, original things that happen, then the EC will not call for additional security, additional measures to protect the lives of their workers. The fact that they feel that there was a need to call for additional measures for that means that the issue is not the normal or the regular thing that happens. You get the point?
I'm with you.
So now, and the issue, again, I'm saying that this issue is not actually, in fact, I can say that it's not actually with the NDC. It's between the EC itself fighting itself. The EC says, despite all the hooliganism, despite everything that has happened, we can still declare the results. They also said that it's on record. So why haven't they done that?
All right, Dr. Zato.
When you are trying to say that the NPP is running away from a defeat, you're not honestly from any...
I'm asking you to... It's a question, Dr. Zato. Just bear with me. I'm asking because these are opinions that I have seen across the board, that there is this sort of sentiment, and I'm sure maybe you've seen it, maybe not. If not, I'm bringing it to your attention. It's a sentiment that I've seen floating about. I monitor the airwaves and I monitor social media space, and also we've gone into the constituency ourselves to ask the constituents their thoughts. There is this school of thought that the NPP is quote-unquote running away because for a constituency that could boast of 60% and over for the NPP, to say we won by 414 votes is very telling. I wanted you to weigh in on that, what you thought about that school of thought. It's a question that I was posing to you.
Again, I've gone back to tell you that the NPP has lost Domikwabina. They've always won it. The NPP has lost Ayawaso West Wagon. They've always won it. The NPP has lost traditional constituencies that they've always won. It's true, they've lost. The loss in the last election was massive and was all nationwide. So this is not different. I don't know how this constituency is different from Domikwabina. I don't know how different this constituency is from Ayawaso West Wagon. The NPP lost both constituencies. So my argument is that The NPP has already lost in strongholds. Adding another one will not make anything different, will not take away the pain of Domeko Abinya or Ayawasu West Wokon.
But it will make a difference in Parliament. It will mean that the NDC is on its way to 184 seats in Parliament, and that is huge.
Yes, I mean, again, I agree. Look, there's even a by-election coming. The NDC can still win. It's anybody election. My point is that the arbiter, the neutral EP body here, should then not be seen to be helping the NDC to do that. Right now, if you read any objective read of what is happening, looks like the EC is deliberately, willingly helping the NDC to do that. For me, that is the point. If the NDC can do it on their own, let them do it on their own. If the NDC can do it to look like you've taken the side, because remember, only one person was asking for a rerun in this whole caboodle. When the whole thing started, only one person was asking for a rerun. That was the NDC, and they've got what they want. That is the point I'm making. They have been consistent that, look, we want to have a rerun. And EC said no rerun. NPP said no rerun. The NDC have got their rerun. So it means, again, the NDC have got exactly what they wanted. That is the point.
And it's your default position that what the NDC wants inherently is the wrong choice.
No, I'm not saying what is wrong or right. NDC is a political party. They have a right to determine what they want. They have the right to argue for what they want. They have a right to advocate for what they want. In fact, they wanted more stations, but they didn't get more. That's what I've heard. But the point is that they wanted a recount. The only reason they wanted a recount them could be that they think that a recount would be near to their political benefit. The only reason why...
So on the flip side, then the NPP will not want a rerun because then it would not inure to their benefit. Is that the direct comparison?
That is a different thing. That is a different election. If you rerun it, that's a different election. They believe that the election that they had, they won. So if you're running a new one, they don't know how it will go. Guess who agreed with them? The EC. The EC agreed with them.
All right, Dr. Zato, let me pause you for a brief moment. Take a breather and let me ask Hamza a question. Hopefully that can also bring some more clarity to the situation. Hamza, there have been some 8 attempts at collating the results in Ablekuma North. What are the main reasons for which this could not be, done to an effective conclusion?
I think, Helen, first of all, I admire the passionate love and defense of your so-called neutral commentator.
No, I introduced him, Hamza, bear with me. I introduced him. Dr. Zato, let me pause you, please. Bear with me. Bear with me, Dr. Zato. I can handle this.
To get an appointment from the government. And I know that you are desperately trying to be here to make sure to get the eye of the president to give an appointment. And because of that, you are using any opportunity you get to throw invective at me.
Dr. Zato, let me handle this. Dr. Zato, give me a moment.
I'm afraid of you. It's not because I think that you can speak better than me. It's because I'm respecting you. So please, can you refrain from being so rude? Can you refrain from being so indisciplined? Can you do that?
Dr. Zato, bear with me. Let me take control.
To call me names, can you do that?
Dr. Zato, let me handle this. Thank you for that interjection. Bear with me.
Remember, I've refrained from addressing him, but he doesn't want to do that. I just want him to let him know that we can both go down the gut.
Let's not go down that path. We're having a fruitful conversation. Dr. Zato, let me take control. Dr. Zato, let me lower the tempo. Your points are noted.
That is not going to work.
Dr. Zato,
from doing that. He owes me a duty also to refrain from doing that.
Hamza, can we have a consensus that in this conversation,
Helen, you see, I am quiet for him to continue on that tangent because as part of our responsibilities as communicators, we must speak the truth. Dr. Zato contested.
No, you are a communicator. I'm not a communicator. I'm an analyst. You are an NDC communicator. I'm not.
That's one. You see, secondly, it is not been denied by him that he ever contested on the ticket of the NPP as a parliamentary candidate.
Hamza, can we...
He's not denying. No. Helen. You see, I respected him.
I know, Hamza, that I've done that. But I also know that you, if not because you are an NDC member,
Gentlemen, Dr. Zato,
you are only here because of your NDC member. You are not here
Dr.
because of your expertise. You are not here because of your knowledge. The NDC could have brought anybody. The TV3 went out of their way to bring me here because of my knowledge and expertise, of which they couldn't have done that to you. They cannot extend that to you at all. You're only here because
Dr. Zato.
We need somebody. Who do we get? Let's get Hamza to go. So we need to go and do that. That is why you are here. I am here on the death of my TV.
You are a lecturer, and I would want you to at least show our listeners that kind of respect, please. Please. You really
don't do that. Now that I'm trying to give you your own medicine, you are saying what? For almost 30 minutes now, you've been hitting at me, insinuating.
No, you have not given me. You have not given me any medicine. You have
now that I'm trying to give you, you are saying that what do you think you were doing to me?
And you see, let us stick to the issues.
Let's do that, please. Gentlemen, gentlemen, let me pause both of you. Gentlemen, I'm pausing both of you at this point. And gentlemen, you can't hear, the general public cannot hear you. I can hear you. Please, let's make progress in this conversation, please.
He has been doing this. You've not told him to stop.
And can we, let's do this one at a time, gentlemen. Hamza, please, I'll come to you. And Dr. Zato, I'll come to you.
Ellen, tell him to stop.
Dr. Zato, I am in control. Dr. Zato, I am in control. Bear with me. Give me a moment.
Good.
Take a breather.
Okay.
Hamza.
Ellen, you see, I'm not responding to any of the invectives that he's throwing. But you see, the fact still remains that we owe it a duty to our listeners to let them understand the persuasions of those of us who are speaking. And I will not be intimidated by you or Dr. Zato in pointing out the fact that indeed he is a member of the New Patriotic Party. It is not in doubt. And when I state that for the sake of our listeners, I am not lying. I dare him to tell me that I am lying, that he's not a member of the New Patriotic Party.
I understand where you are coming from. Because you are robotic in that you understand that because you are for the ABC, you cannot say anything independent or neutral for the ABC.
If I say that, I am not attacking your personality.
I am capable of doing that. And that's what I'm saying, that there's a difference.
If I say that,
Dr. you are a member of the ABC, you are I'm capable of making opinions and decisions that are different from that of the NPP. I am capable of engaging in such
Dr. Zato, please.
You are not. And just because you are not doesn't mean that we all are.
So you are done. You see, the fact still remains.
I'm not done. I've told you. If you talk about me, I'll talk about you. I've told you that.
Of the New Patriotic Party. That is not in doubt, and he's not denied that. And there's nothing wrong in bringing that to the attention of our listeners. Secondly, there's absolutely nothing wrong with a political active person seeking the eye of the appointment authority. And in any case, maybe he doesn't know. The access he has to Dr. Mahmoud Obama, I have unfettered access to His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama, and I don't need to use communication to get his attention. If I want to go to his house this morning, I'll be there in the next hour or two, and nobody will stop me at the entrance. And it didn't start because President Mahama is president. So, unlike him, maybe that is the objective of his communication, to catch the eye of his political party, because they showed him the exit when he went to contest for parliamentary seats.
All right, Hamza. Now we've reached. Now we're in a different realm.
Now to the.
So you see, that is the problem of Hamza. I know you desperately want an appointment. Don't worry, keep going. Your appointment will come. Okay.
The issue.
I think the issue. Has it also occurred to you that it's because of these things you are doing that you haven't got the appointment? Has it occurred to you that?
Gentlemen,
the way you are communicating.
I suspect we'll have to truncate this conversation. I suspect we'll have to truncate this conversation. Hamza, duly noted the points that you have made. You had mentioned it earlier. That's why I was wondering why you had sought to reiterate. And I also mentioned that this morning we wanted to seek the thoughts of Dr. Zato as a political analyst. Those were the reasons why he is on the show, or that is the reason why he's on the show this morning.
Have I disputed that?
You haven't.
But I haven't. I accept that you.
But I said you had mentioned it earlier. Was there a reason why you have reiterated this more than one time?
The reason why I have reiterated it more than one time is because people must know his political persuasion. Is there anything wrong?
The reason why you mentioned that is because you are losing the argument. And when you lose the argument, then you think that people have agreed to my independent analysis, you lose the argument. So you are not trying to poison the well, you are trying to poison the challenge by saying this so that people will not take my argument. That is the truth. That's what you think you are doing.
Dr. Zato, you have agreed with me throughout the interview. Go and replay the interview. I have not agreed with you on even one thing.
Gentlemen, let's do it this
You
way.
were cornered. You couldn't even disagree with me. And I'm the one using the argument.
Hamza, a little bit of patience on your end. Bear with me. Gentlemen, let me tell you something. The listeners of 3FM Sunrise on 3FM 92.7 are very discerning listeners. These are mature listeners who are able to decipher for themselves the information that comes through to them. I have no doubts at all that as our listeners are receiving this information, assimilating this information, that they can make up their minds which argument for them holds strongly. So I don't think that we should go down that tangent. I think we've lost Dr. Zato on the line. Hamza, are you still with us?
I am still here because I am not losing the argument. I know I'm winning. Just that you don't want the truth to be.
That's not true, Hamza. I said you had mentioned it earlier. I was only asking.
You may have invited the gentleman as a neutral commentator, but he is a card-bearing member of the New Patriotic Party. And if I state that fact to put our discussions in perspective, it is not an attack, unless, of course, he doesn't feel so proud of his association with the New Patriotic Party. Why are we being hypocritical in this country?
Well, Dr. Zato hasn't denied that. And
if he has not denied that, how would you allow him to refer to that as constituting a personal attack on his person?
I was hoping to hear more from him in a more subdued manner, what exactly the issues were. But we haven't been able to reconnect with him.
You don't create the impression that I am at loggerheads or I'm behaving the same way with ASMIs. Absolutely not. It is a fact that he's a member of the New Patriotic Party. If you refer to me as a member of the National Democratic Congress, I will accept gladly. Because truly I am.
Right.
There are other platforms that call me to express legal opinions on issues, and I insist they should add that I'm a member of the National Democratic Congress.
You say that's important so that your leanings are made clear?
Absolutely. That is what it should be. So you don't try to deceive your listeners with coloration of his background.
Well, Hamza, one quick point, and then we can move on. One quick point. Now, let me pick your thoughts on that.
You see, you asked him a direct question about hypocrisy, and he decided to move straight to the defense of the New Patriotic Party. And there was a need for me to let your listeners understand that the reason why he's gone on that tangent is because of his association with that particular political party, and that it is not born out of the realities of the situation. That was all.
Hamza, thank you for that. And when you say he's here as a neutral political analyst, I suppose when we do these introductions, we don't add neutral, if you will. A political analyst might have their leanings overt or covert, but I understand your points. Well noted. Let's make a bit of progress. I wanted to ask you about the 8 different attempts at collating in Ablekuma North, and for you, what were the key reasons why each attempt was unsuccessful?
It basically had to do with a disagreement as to which pink sheet constituted an authentic one, Helen.
Right.
Because the NDC has its own list that showed that the NDC was winning. The NPP also claimed to have a list that showed that they were winning the election, or they had won the election. Unfortunately, the Electoral Commission could not corroborate the claims of the 19 polling stations we are dealing with. So clearly, you cannot proceed in such a situation when the numbers from these 19 polling stations undoubtedly had the effect of determining the election in one way or the other. So a rerun was inevitable under the circumstances, especially in relation to the 19 polling stations. Nothing more, nothing less.
All right,
so
Hamza.
how is this the NDC's problem? Because remember that it first started with about 37 polling stations. 37 of the polling stations couldn't be verified. As a result of the coalition process and negotiations and engagement, they were able to agree on a substantial number of the pink sheets. But these 19, both parties couldn't agree on. So if you have such a situation, what is the easiest way to resolving it? Go back to the polls in reference to these 19 polling stations and get them to elect or vote so that you can effectively man the process and declare the results.
Right. Thank you.
It's not untoward. It happens.
Thank you for that. I see a number of you also quite active on our streams this morning. Do keep your thoughts and comments coming. This one is on YouTube. Our YouTube community keeps growing. Hayford Amponsa says, if the EC thought it was going to be difficult to collate, why did they not go back to the court to tell them it would not be possible? A number of you asking what control I have over the microphones. Well, I wanted to hear both gentlemen out. But Hamza, I think we can put a pin in this particular issue of Ablekuma North. We will certainly be there to see how things pan out come tomorrow. That's July 11th, as there is going to be a rerun of some 19 polling stations. I've spoken with the NDC's constituency organizer, as well as the NPP's constituency organizer, and the NDC is feverishly campaigning, Hamza, as you have also made us aware of this morning. On the part of the NPP, they say that that's not happening in the constituency. That means the NDC has free rein to spread their message. So we watch what happens there. But Hamza, another issue that has been a hot topic on social media and beyond, and I want you to weigh in on this for us and provide some much needed clarity. Now, we know that Ghana did not vote at the UN Human Rights Council to support LGBTQ rights. Foreign Affairs Ministry has clarified that. Now, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs says that Ghana did not vote at the 59th session of the Human Rights Council to support LGBTQ plus rights in the country. And this is in a statement which was issued yesterday, Wednesday, July 9th, by the ministry. Hamza, there's been some sort of confusion there with persons believing that the vote should have gone to say no or not in support of the motion. We decided to completely abstain. Why is that?
I think, first of all, the NDC had an unfortunate situation of either going by our collective desires or respecting the 1992 Constitution for now. And like our representative at the meeting indicated, we are very clear on our minds when we talk of sex that we are referring to the male and female. And this particular vote had nothing. In fact, this particular vote was not about whether you support LGBTQ plus or not. It was a packed vote system that, as part of the decisions to be taken, had to do with the mandate of a committee set up to ensure that they expand the frontiers of freedom and protection of women and children's rights, including sexual rights. Whether indeed the committee should be allowed to continue to do its work or the committee should be dissolved. Now, the NDC appreciates as a government that there's already a bill that is undergoing through the processes, and that ended up in our law courts, if you remember. And so discussions are still ongoing that is intended to criminalize the issue of LGBTQ+. Interestingly, our Constitution, the 1992 Constitution, also gives some rights, which we are hoping that the bill, eventually if it becomes an act, would put in a proper perspective and give the NDC the legal basis to be able to make policies in that regard. Until that is done, if you go out internationally and you vote against some of these things, it will not just be a vote against such a proposal, it will also be a vote that violates the 1992 Constitution. And these are some of the things we need to appreciate as a people. So the government decided to review the legalities of the process in line with the 1992 Constitution and decided to abstain so that not to offend the 1992 Constitution as it stands now, hoping that the LGBTQ plus would eventually become law to give the government the impetus to be able to vote no in any future vote. That is all. So it is not an endorsement of LGBTQ+.
The minority in Parliament, Minority Caucus, says otherwise, and they have condemned your government's decision to abstain from this crucial vote. In fact, ranking member on Parliament's Foreign Affairs Committee and Damongo MP Samuel Abujinapo, in a press statement, said that abstention is complicity. How do you respond to him?
Absolutely not. No, I have just given you the basis of the abstention. Unlike them, this is not a party that is interested in rushing through decisions. And in the process of rushing through such decisions, we violate constitutional norms or principles. We are very strategic, and that is the reason why the government, the good people of this country, gave us that mandate, because they know that in taking decisions will be reflective and strategic so as not to violate constitutional principles and norms and also the culture of the Ghanaian people. And we are telling you that this decision we took was clearly in line with that objective, not to undermine the cultural expectations of our people, but at the same time respecting our constitutional provisions until such a time that we have an act that provides perspectives, or if you like, clarity to one of our constitutional provisions that requires that we respect the rights of individuals when it comes to their sexualities. So until that act is done, indeed, I'm sure if it were to be the NPP, they would have voted yes in support of it.
You say the NPP would have voted yes?
So they would have voted no, because they are for LGBTQ+.
You say that when you say they are for it, what does that mean?
They would have voted yes for that particular committee to continue.
When you say they are for it, what exactly do you mean?
Of course, but you saw the kind of politics they played when the bill was even transmitted from Parliament to His Excellency President Nana Addo to sign. Clearly, the party and government was unwilling to criminalize it in Ghana. This government has not said so anywhere. And if they had signed that document, it would have been easier for our reps at that meeting to vote no. Because then the basis of voting no would have been the act or bill that Nana Addo refused to assent to. But today, if we proceeded to vote no, that would have been a violation of a constitutional principle, of a constitutional provision. Until such a time that we have the act in place, we cannot go and vote yes to something like this. And that is the reason why it was in our interest as a country to abstain until we provide clarity. Because as we speak now, we have not criminalized it in law. So until the policy is criminalized openly and there's a legislation backing it, then such decisions would be taken without the fear of contravening your constitutional provisions or your laws as a republic.
Now, Hamza, you mentioned the bill.
There's nothing wrong with the decision that was taken.
You mentioned the Human Sexual Rights and Ghanaian Family Values Bill. When is that expected to make a return to Parliament?
Unfortunately, I do not have the schedule before me, but I know that what was presented, I think later this year or early next year.
And this is because the processes...
But I cannot remember with certainty because I don't have the schedule before
right.
me. The bills that have been proposed that Parliament should have a look at,
right.
I don't have it before me.
And is it the case that the processes will have to be initiated all over again because once that 8th Parliament was dissolved...
I honestly do not know because we have always said that Parliament is a master of its own rules.
Right.
So I do not know what the direction of the Speaker of Parliament would be. But whichever route that they take, I can assure you that as a party, we are still committed to our position to legalizing that particular practice in Ghana.
Certainly, time check. It is some 30 minutes to the top of the 10 a.m. Hamza Suhini Saibu is a private legal practitioner. He's also a member of the NDC's communications team. And this morning we've been talking all things Ablekuma North and also weighing in on Ghana's decision there to vote at that UN, talking about LGBTQ plus decision there. The Minority Caucus having condemned the government's decision to abstain from that crucial vote, saying that abstinence means complicity. Well, Hamza has put some more flesh on the bone, seeking to explain to us why we took that particular direction and what that means for us in other areas. Well, Hamza, we're looking to wrap up on the conversation very shortly, but let me bring it back very quickly to Ablekuma North, and I'm seeing all your messages here on our Facebook stream, and there was a quick one here I wanted to read out, and then Apologies, Hamza, I think I've lost that particular comment. Technology. Okay, Musa Abatwa has this to say on our Facebook page. And for those of you on Facebook, good morning. Thank you for your thoughts. He says the NPP's attempt to block the Ablekuma North rerun raises serious doubts about their credibility, especially if they truly believe that they won. Their refusal to participate suggests a fear of losing. The Electoral Commission must also be held accountable for its incompetence, particularly the suspicious loss of original pink sheets, which points to possible deliberate wrongdoing. Ghana deserves credible commissioners. And Hamza, I wanted you to weigh in on something that the minority leader had said on the floor of Parliament, alluding to a conversation that your national chairman had on a different station, indicating that there needs to be a reset within the Electoral Commission. Minority leader says that is what has influenced this decision of the EC. I'm not sure that you were able to weigh in on that particular theme, but do so for me, please.
Before I do so, permit me to stoke the fires a little, Helen. I'm surprised that your so-called political commentator would run away from such a show.
And we've tried to call him back. I wanted to mention that. So thank you, Hamza, for reminding me. We've attempted to call back Dr. Zato. Hamza, why are you laughing?
Who was winning the debate has suddenly decided to
I think he has some issues with his line.
As a political science student myself, I think that this is not what we were taught in University of Ghana, and the university should be concerned that especially we have people who brandish their logo running away from such intellectual engagements, largely because of emotions. This is problematic.
We'll attempt to reconnect. I think he's on the road at this point, but we'll attempt to reconnect before we finally say goodbye. All right.
Yes, because this is not what we were taught in our days in University of Ghana, so that ought to be respected. Second, you see, now to your question about the position of our national chairman. Helen, I think that General Asidin Ketia has been quite consistent. And as a political party, we have been consistent. And I made that point in my initial submissions. From day one, we've always held a view that Jean Mensah ought not to have been appointed electoral commissioner because we doubted her competence. And same with the two deputies. And so that has not changed. And the fact that we are in government does not mean that that position has changed. And so if our national chairman reiterates that position, it shows principle and commitment to what we stood for, even in opposition. And so for us, that is it. But at the end of the day, the decision whether they remain in office or not will be taken by the good people of this country in consultation or in conjunction with the government of the day. We may have produced a presidential candidate that immediately that presidential candidate is sworn in as president, he becomes a property of the Republic of Ghana. And his allegiance and objectives must be to fulfill the aspirations of the good people of this country, not just aspirations of the National Democratic Congress. So as a political party, even though we are still convinced that the woman and her deputies should go, if we want to invoke the processes, we must do so in accordance with the law. And all citizens of this country can decide on their own to petition His Excellency President Mahama to apply Article 146 in terms of removing Jean Mensah and her deputies. That is left to the good people of this country to do. And when these petitions are filed, the government at the end of the day will take a decision as to whether or not, based on the facts before them, to proceed with such a call for removal. It does not mean that because the national chairman of the new National Democratic Congress is calling for the removal of Jean Mensah and her two deputies, it does not mean that they will go. Because knowing President Mahama has always shown fidelity to the laws of this country. He has always privileged national interests over and beyond that of partisan interests. And at any point in time that he's called upon to take a decision, he is not influenced by partisan considerations. He does so in the interest of the Republic of Ghana. And so let us appreciate that distinction. As a political party, these are our objectives. This is what we want. But it does not mean that the government at the end of the day will likely agree with us. It is possible that the government, based on the facts available to them and the privileges that they have in government, who gives them certain pieces of information, they may disagree with the position of the National Democratic Congress, including that of the position of our chairman. So it's not out of the ordinary.
Right. Well, Hamza, thank you so much for your time this morning, for engaging with us and also bringing some clarity to some of the issues and also giving us your perspectives. Hopefully next time you'll be able to join us in flesh and blood in the studio. It's a very comfortable studio, so I know you'll be here to pay us a visit. Are you headed to Ablekuma North yourself?
Definitely, I should be there in the afternoon.
All right. Well, we look forward to finding out more about what happens in Ablekuma North. Do have a wonderful Thursday.
Thank you, Helen, and all the best to you and your team as well.
Thank you so much. And this is still 3FM Sunrise on 3FM 92.7.
3FM 92.7.
The margin is huge. Now they are dragging with small margin. That tells you that there is no stronghold in Ablekuma North now. And I'm saying it again.